Good morning, students. Standard 12th, Chapter 2, Cascading Style Sheets and JavaScript. Chapter 1, we discussed about how to create form using HTML and then how to create the same form using Composer. This chapter is covering two very interesting topics, that is CSS and JavaScript. They are very advanced topic and they are used in almost every website nowadays. So there is no website where there is no CSS is used or no scripting language is implemented. So let us learn first topic, and that is CSS. What is CSS? It is cascading style sheet or CSS that allows to specify styles for the visual elements of the website. Now this is something technical term. In simple language, CSS allows you to specify how you want to display web page content on website. So that can be decided by CSS. It helps us to keep the information content of a document separate from the details of how to display it. So it now separates the content and presentation. You can say that now the content and presentations are separated. Let us understand this practically. I have created this file, simple file. I have not written anything in body. Now let's say I want to display my name with so much of formatting. Let's say I want to make my name bold. I want to also make it italics. I want to also make it underline. And even I want to change the color and font. So I say font, size I want to change, color I want to change, and font also I want to change to Vardhana. And then I want to display my name, and then I will close all this tag, that is /font /u /i and /b. Saving this file, and let us see the output. So if you see the output of this file, so you can see all these effects on the name. It is bold, it is italics, it is underlined, font is changed, font size is changed, color is changed. So all this thing, what we have written as HTML, this is called presentation, and this is called content. So content and presentation. So in normal HTML, content and presentations are written together. Now what here CSS says is, we separate this content and presentation. Let us see what are the advantages and in detail of CSS. So the details of how to display the document is known as style. That is all this tag which we have written, that is called style. And style specifies the appearance of a particular page element on the screen that you saw. That my name was displayed with different style. So that is, style is used to specify the appearance of the content on the web page. Now using CSS, we can set all element types to appear in a style as per our choice. So we can decide that how we want particular information to be displayed by specifying its style. Thus we can say that normal HTML is used to describe the information content of the document and not the style, while CSS is used to describe the style of the element in the document and not its content. So in simple language, when we were using this content and presentation together, now using CSS, what we will be doing is, we will be separately displaying content and separately displaying style. Style will not contain content and content will not contain style. So that is what it wants to say, and that is what CSS, cascading style sheet, that where we separate content from presentation. Keeping style separate from the content, it helps in many ways. First and most important is, it avoids duplication in coding. Just think of a situation that I want to display my name in a particular web page for 300 times, and I want to display my name with same format, color and size and everything. Then I need to write all this code 300 times, which is a wastage of time. We are not using any our expertise in that. So using CSS, we need to write presentation only one time. We don't need to repeat it for then 300 times. So it avoids duplication. We use the same content with different styles for different purpose. It is also possible that the same content we can use with different styles, so that every time we can display the same content slightly differently. And the foremost thing is easy to maintain the code. How? Remember that if the same thing is written 300 times in my program, the same thing which is right now selected, and after certain days, if I feel that I want to display all those my names which are right now in red color, I want to display it in green color, then you know that I need to make 300 changes. Wherever there is red written color red, I need to change it to green, which is time consuming. There are chances of so many errors. Whereas if we are using CSS, you need to make only one changes, and that changes will give its effect at as many places you have applied. Syntax of CSS now. How CSS is written like. So the syntax of CSS consists of special symbols which are known as style rules. Remember, from this page, you can expect that board will ask you 1 or 2 MCQ from this single slide. So let us once again understand clearly. The syntax of CSS consists of special symbols which are known as rules or style rules. A cascading style sheet rule has 2 main parts. Now that rule has got 2 main parts, a selector and 1 or more declarations. So CSS rule has 2 main parts, selector and 1 or more declarations. What is selector and what is declaration now? The selector is the HTML element. So that's an HTML element on which we want to apply style. So whichever element you want to apply your style is considered as selector. Declaration consists of property associated with HTML element and used in selector and its corresponding value. So declaration consists of 2 things, property and value. As you can see down, declaration consists of 2 things, property and value. And again observe that declaration is written within set of curly bracket. As you can see, declaration is written within set of curly bracket and it contains 2 things, property and value. And one more thing you observe, that property and value is separated by colon sign. So the general syntax of CSS is we write selector outside the bracket, then within the curly bracket we write property and value. It is also possible to write multiple properties within the declaration, that is within curly bracket. If you write multiple properties, remember that each property should be separated by semicolon. In example, you can see h1 is selector. H1 is a HTML tag which is used for heading 1. Property is color and value is red. So that means now whenever I use h1 tag in my file, the color of that h1 tag, that is heading 1 tag, will automatically become red. Let us see further how to add CSS in Composer. See, if you are using Composer, you don't need to worry that how to write selector and how to write declarations and everything, because CSS will take care of it. As you know that, Composer will take care of it. As you know, chapter 1 we have seen that we can create the entire form in Composer without writing a single HTML tag. Similarly, we can also write CSS without writing any single code on our own. So we can easily add CSS code using Composer. To make sure Composer uses CSS by default, generally it is by default using CSS only, but just to make sure that nobody has changed that settings, so to make sure we need to go to edit menu, and from edit menu of Composer we select preferences. As you click on preferences, you will see the dialog box which is shown in this screen, that is options dialog box. In options dialog box, click on General tab, which is shown with the red arrow. So click on that General tab, and then in that General tab on right hand side you will see there is a checkbox, which is again also shown with the red arrow, which says that use CSS styles instead of HTML element and attributes. So just make sure that there is a tick mark on this option, which tells Composer to use CSS rather than HTML elements and attributes. So by default this will be on only, but still to make sure you should know this, that how to check that. Again, from board point of view, exam point of view, you can remember that how to open preferences dialog box or how to go to options, then by clicking on edit menu of Composer and then selecting preferences. Then which tab you are supposed to open? General tab. And in General tab, which checkbox you are supposed to observe? So the checkbox where it says that use CSS styles instead of HTML elements and attributes. So make sure this checkbox is ticked mark and then click OK, so that Composer will use CSS rather than using HTML attributes. How to add CSS in Composer now? What to do then when we want to use Composer CSS in our web page? So click CSS button from Composition toolbar. You know that there is Composition toolbar in Composer. So in Composer, that Composition toolbar contains one button called CSS. We will see this practically also once we complete understanding this topic. So click CSS button from Composition toolbar, which will open CSS style sheets dialog box, again as shown in the screen, this slide with green arrow pointing, which shows you the dialog box which is the title as CSS style sheets. Now in this dialog box, to implement CSS, just click on the first radio button that says that style applied to all elements of type. So which element, which HTML element you want to apply CSS, that is what you need to select. So for example, H1, H2 or bold tag or italic tag or any HTML tag, that is selector. So selector is any HTML tag, and which tag you want to apply the style, that you need to select. So for that we select first option, and that is from the 4 radio buttons we select the first radio button, and that is style applied to all elements of type. And then down, if you see with orange color arrow, we have selected H1. It's up to you which HTML element you want to select for CSS. But here we are following textbook example. So in textbook it is shown like this. So we select from that drop down menu, we select H1. That means we want to apply cascading style to H1 tag in our web page. So we have selected H1. Once you select H1, then click on create style rule button as it is shown in with the green arrow. So now click on create style rule button, and you will see that the dialog box remains same open, but the options will change as shown in the next screen. So just observe that as I click on the button create style rule, the same dialog box will remain, but this much portion, the main portion of the dialog box, will change like this. Now instead of that, it shows 7 different tabs like general, text, background, borders, box, lists and oral. These are the different tabs of style rules. So as you click on create style rule, you will get this screen with all these 7 options. In this window, you can see all the different tabs, like as I just now told, like general, text, background, borders, box, list and oral. Now general tab is very important to observe. The general tab shows all the styles which are created or defined by user. Whichever style you will define or you will select from the different options, the details about those styles will be shown in the general tab. As you can see right now, general tab is empty. Just there is one thing written in, that is selector H1. It says selector H1, which we have selected, but down the selector the screen is empty. The reason is, at present we have not selected any style rules. So general tab shows all the style rules created by us. Text tab shows various styles like font family, font size, line height, color, case, uppercase, lowercase like case, alignment, and many other. So that is text tab. So text tab, background tab, borders tab, box tab, list tab, and oral tab. These tabs are used to give different styles to heading 1. It is very important to understand that all these tabs may not be applicable for H1 tag. So you need to understand that H1 tag સાથે કયા attributes અથવા તો કયા tab ના કયા options જશે. So that you need to select from the different menu bar. But remember, text tab is used to show various styles which can be applied to text, like font family, that is to change the font, then to change font size, then to change line height, to change font color, to change its case, and to change its alignment, and still many other options are there. In CSS style sheet dialog box, you can see different tabs. Now already we have seen in the previous screen, and we also understood what is text, but let us see again. We have general tab, text tab, background tab, borders tab, box tab, list tab, and oral tab, where general tab is used to show all the styles created by user, and it is applied to the selector. Here, what is the selector? H1. That is what we have selected. The selector is H1. Somebody else may select H2 or H3 or something else. Text tab shows various styles which we have already seen, like font family, font size, line height, color, case, alignment, and many other. Then we have the text tab containing all these options. You can see now text tab, that when you click on the text tab, you can see in the screen it has font family, it has custom font family, it has font size, line height, color, font weight, font style, case of the font, alignment of the font, and the direction of the font. So all these things you can define from the text tab. The box at the bottom of the tab, text tab, it shows the preview of the effects which will be applied to the text. So as you keep on selecting different options, the box down where red arrow is pointed, it will show you the preview, that how it will actually look like. If you change color, if you change font size, all the effects will be shown here. So that box shows you the preview of your selected item or selected options in the text box. Background box. Background box, as you know, that contains options like color, opacity, image, title, and position. So you can decide all these things. You can decide the background color. You can decide which image you want to keep in the background by choosing the file. You can decide the opacity of the color or the image which you select, how much transparent you want to keep. So that opacity you can decide. You can even decide title, and you can decide its position, vertical as well as horizontal. As you can see, you can decide the position like vertical, it is top, center, and bottom, and horizontal you have left, center, and right. So this is what you can decide from background. That is for the background of the web page. Borders. If you want to apply the same border on all the 4 sides, suppose if you want to give border to a certain text, so if you want to apply same border on all the 4 sides, then you tick on the checkbox in front of the text which is shown with a red arrow, where it says all 4 sides uses same border style. If you click on that, as you can see in that screen, then only top will be activated, right, bottom and left. These three options will be deactivated. Only top will be activated. The reason is whatever you select as top, the same border will be applied on four sides of the selection. So because we have selected the checkbox, all four sides use same border style. If you remove it, as you can see in the other screen on the right hand side, as you remove the tick mark from the option, then you can see that all the four sides options are now active. You can select a different style for top border, different style for right border, different style for bottom border, and different style for left hand side border. All the four borders you have different selection. Generally we don't do like that. We keep all the four side borders same, but if you wish, you have this option to change them. So that is how you can select the borders. As you can see, because for us text, background and borders are important, box, list and oral are not for the normal text. So as you can see, we have selected certain option from the text menu, background menu and borders menu. And now you can see when you come to general tab, it shows all the style rules which will be applied to the selector H1. Now H1 will be applying all these style rules. And see, the style rules are automatically written by CSS that we don't need to write. We just need to select all these options, all these three options, text options, background options and borders option. Style rules will be written automatically by the composer, and you can see the style rules. All the style rules, property and value, they are separated by colon sign. As you can see, border style is property, then colon, dotted is its value. Similarly, border color is property, colon, red is its value. And you can see every style rule is separated with next style rule with semicolon. So all you can see is followed by semicolon. So that is how styles are defined. Now remember that initially general tab was blank, as you can see here. The general tab is this, general tab is open and you can see all this blank, the entire box is blank. But as we selected something in text box, text option, something in background, something in borders, and now you see the general tab shows those style rules which we have defined in the different menus. This means now this will be applied to everywhere wherever it is defined. Let us see this practically. We go to Notepad. Now rather than writing all this thing, I just remove all this and just keep B and /B for Nayan Shah. Okay, so I'm keeping only bold and /B, and in head section I'm writing style and /style. Enter. Here we select, instead of H1 we write a different selector. Let's say I'm writing selector B, and property and value I'm writing in declaration as color is equal to color not equal to color colon red semicolon font family colon Vardhana and then curly bracket over. This means I have defined style. As you can see, the style is written between style and /style. For us, in this example, B is the selector and this is what declaration. Declaration consists of two things, property and value. Property and value. And property and value is separated by colon sign. They are separated by colon sign, and multiple properties are separated by semicolon. So this is how we define the style. Save this. This means now wherever I use bold tag in my page, the text will become bold, but at the same time it will be red colored and the font would be Vardhana. So let us see in the output. Refresh it. You can see that now, because we have not given the size, so size is normal, but the content is bold and color is red and font is Vardhana. So if I change the font, suppose from Vardhana, if I say impact, save this and refresh. So you can see that font is changed. Now, if I write something else after breaking a line, if I write italics and then say Rajkot and /I, save this. As you can see, Rajkot comes normally only italics, no color, no font. Then again if I say breaking the line and if I say bold India and /B, save this, come back to the end. So now as you can see, India has become bold and its color is also changed to red. So let me just increase the size, just screen size I am increasing so that you can see it clearly. So what happens whenever we use bold tag, now we don't need to worry about giving color and changing the font. Suppose even if you don't want impact, if we say some other font, from the format menu we select font, let's say. There are many different fonts we can apply. So from font menu, suppose I want to use this font, we should be able to read the name of the font in this also. So like let's say Calibri or Britannic, or even there are many other fonts like Elephant font or Gibsons. Let's say we use this GILL Sans font. Let us see whether it is working or not. Sans. Save this, come this and refresh. As you can see, the fonts are changed. So that is how you don't need to worry. You need to make changes only at one place, and that is here. Let's say Arial, and you can see the changes happening everywhere. Right now it is only at 2 places, but it may be at 100 places, 1000 places, or as an infinite number of places. You just make changes at one place. Here suppose from red you say blue, you made only one changes, and let's say there are many other lines written. After break you just say Mera Bharat Mahan and again /B, save this, refresh it. So as you can see, wherever you will use bold tag, B tag, it will become bold. At the same time it will be colored would be blue and font would be Arial. Now if you remember the advantages of CSS, what it says, let us see first and then we'll come back here again. The advantages of CSS. The CSS allows us to set the format of the website without changing the underlying structure. So you don't need to change the structure, or you don't need to even bother about the web page content. You don't disturb it. You just make changes in the CSS and it will have effect on the entire website. CSS separates the layout and format properties of the website from its underlying logical structure. So it separates layout and format. So content and presentations are separated. They are now not written together. As you can see here, content is all this and presentation is this. This is presentation and all these are content. So content and presentations are separated. You can make changes to the website without the fear of accidentally changing the data. As you can see now here, I can make this blue to green without making any changes in the body section of the web page. But it will have the effect on body section. As you know, if you go to web page and refresh it, the color will change to green automatically. So that is how the underlying structure is not disturbed. The web developer's job is made very easy, as to change the style of any element, he or she only needs to make modification in the CSS file at one place. We just make changes at one place. We just make from green to other color or from Arial to other font. It will have effect on everywhere wherever you are using B tag automatically. In this example, so we have just used B tag for 3 times. But think of a situation that B tag you are applying at 3000 places. Then also it will apply all this effect, color, green, font family, Arial, everywhere without any changes made into the other code of the web page. So web developers' job is made very easy. CSS has less code compared to that in HTML, you know that. Otherwise you need to repeat the same code again and again, again and again. But because of CSS, as you can see, all this code, how to change color, how to change font, that code is now reduced. You don't need to write that code for this text or even for this text. You just make it bold, and things which are related or linked with bold tag will be applied automatically. So that web developers job is made easier, and the code also reduces, and the web page will load faster because CSS makes website design quick and efficient and small in size. So that is what CSS advantages of CSS. Disadvantages of CSS, because this textbook is written almost say 8-9 years ago. So there are some disadvantages discussed in the textbook. What are those? Let us see. The CSS compatibility varies with different browsers. This means that some of the style sheet features which we have included in our CSS code may not be supported by all the browsers, and the style cannot be displayed as per users' wish and design. But as far as I understand now, this problem is removed. Every browser nowadays understands CSS and CSS style rules and gives almost same result. So now no need to worry about this. Second point is, but nowadays the latest browser versions are more standard compliant and the compatibility issue has reduced. So in the disadvantage itself, textbook clarifies that it is almost reduced, and that also before 8 years. If you see presently, it is totally reduced. Now there is no browser who don't understand CSS. So remember CSS cascading style sheet, where you define the style once, only one time, as here. It should be in head section or it should be defined outside the HTML file. But you define only once. If you are defining it within head section, you write it between style and /style tag. How you write is, because CSS syntax is style rules where there are two parts, selector and one or more declaration. Selector is HTML tag, declaration is written within curly bracket. Declaration consists of two things, property and value, and they are separated by colon, and multiple properties, that is this color and font family, they are two different properties, are separated by semicolon. So please remember this. There is nothing much about CSS in your textbook and syllabus. Otherwise it's a very advanced topic. There are so many things to discuss about CSS, but because your textbook discusses up to this much, so we will limit it up to this. Now let us see it through how using Composer we can apply CSS in our web page. You know Composer because we have discussed about Composer in chapter 1. It is a WYSIWYG software. What you see is what you get kind of software, where you don't need to write any code. The code will be written automatically by Composer software itself. We just select different options and menu buttons, and then that is how we design the web page, and the code for that web page will be written automatically by Composer. So to implement CSS, the first thing what we need to do is to check whether CSS is by default used in the Composer or not. For that we go to Tools menu, and in Tools menu we have the option Preferences. Remember, this question is also being asked in board exam, that how to go to the option or how to open the options dialog box. Then for that we need to go to Tools and Preferences. As you click on Tools Preferences, you will get this options dialog box. In this options dialog box, see that you are on the general tab. So right now we are in the general tab, and down here cascading style sheet editing. In that, there is a checkbox which says use CSS style instead of HTML elements and attributes. This tick mark should be there. If it is not there, you select it and make sure the tick mark is there. If the tick mark is there, that means Composer will by default use CSS instead of using HTML elements and attributes for presentation. As you know, CSS is used to separate content from presentation, where presentation and contents are written separately so that web page management becomes easy for the web designer. Click on OK, so that thing is done. Now, to create CSS, we have this composition toolbar where you see all these buttons. That is composition toolbar. On that toolbar, the last button is CSS button. So click on that CSS editor button, which will ask you first, before you apply CSS, it is must that you save your document in Composer. So let's say first we give the title of the document is Css Example. We click OK, that is the title of the document, and now it is asking for the file, with what file name you want to save. Let us keep file name as css1. Here we don't need to give .html because it says that HTML files. So save that. So file is saved, and as you can see, here it shows the title, that is CSS Example. In this Untitled, which was previously Untitled, now it shows CSS Example. And this is the CSS Style Sheets dialog box. Once again, if you want to see that how to get that dialog box, then on Composition toolbar, click on CSS button. As you click on CSS button, if your document is not saved, then it will ask you to save the document first. If it is saved as it is right now, it will directly show you CSS Style Sheets dialog box. And as you can see, in CSS Style Sheets dialog box, you have these 4 radio buttons for creating a new style rule. For creating a new style rule, either you select style applied to all elements of type, or you select style applied to all elements of class, or you select style applied to an element with specified ID attribute, or you select custom style rule. Right now we will select this one because we have not studied about style and ID attribute till now. So we will select style applied to all elements of type, and then from this drop down menu we will select heading 1, H1. We are going as per the textbook. So we have selected heading 1. Now for heading 1, that is for H1 tag, we want to define style rule. So to define that style rule, we will click on create style rule. As I click on style rule, observe the screen. The screen almost remains the same, but this portion will change. So as I click on create style rule, as you can see, same dialog box but with different options. Now the options are general, text, background, borders, box, lists and oral. So right now general shows all the style rules which are defined, but right now it is blank. The reason is we have not selected any style rules. Now let us select style rules for H1 tag. For that we go to text, and in text we select the font family as predefined, and then from family we select one of the font, let's say Times New Roman. So as we selected this, then we can select font size. You can see the font sizes are like this. So double X small, double extra large. So let's say we select double extra large. It shows the preview here in the preview box. Line height, how big line height you want to keep, normal or something. So let's say normal. Color, we can select the color by going here and selecting some color. Let's say we select this color. Everything it will show you in the preview box. On the right hand side, there are still another options like font weight, like bold and how. So let's say we select bolder. So much bold effect will be there. Font style, let's say we give as italic. let's say italic is the font size, and you can see in the preview also. Case, we say capitalize. The capitalize means it will capitalize first character of every word, so that is capitalize. Alignment, we keep it center, let's say. Text decoration, still there are many options. Text decoration, so text decoration, let's say we say underline and blinking. You can see all the effect in the preview box. Just now let us again go back to general tab. Now you can see general tab has got so many styles written as per the options we have selected. Let us go to background. Now background color, if you want to define, so let's say we go to background color and we define this light color for the background. Click OK. Opacity, you can define how transparent you want to keep. If you want to put some image in the background, you can even select image by clicking on the choose file option. And then let us see borders. As we discussed in the previous lecture, if you want to keep all the 4 borders same, then this checkbox must be ticked. If you want all the 4 borders different, then remove this tick mark, and you can see that now all the 4 top, right, bottom and left are activated. Let us select different border for different side. So for the style of the top border, we say solid. Width of the border, we say thick, and color of the top border we select as dark blue. Okay, so it shows preview here. For right hand side, we select dotted. Then for width of the border line of the right hand side, we select as medium, and color we select as green. For bottom, we again go for dashed or double. Let's say we select double, we keep it thick, and color we select as orange color, this. So it is possible to define all the 4 borders with different style. And left hand side, final left hand side border, again we select let's say dashed. Width we select as medium, and color we select as green itself. Again for left and right we select green color, but with different style. As you come back to general tab, again you can see that style rules are increased. Now there are so many style rules based on how we have defined. Click on OK button. Once you click on OK button, that style is applied now. Now you may write whatever you may write in your document, but when you select H1 from this format toolbar 1, when you select heading 1, you can see all the effects are applied, and then whatever you write will have the effect. Blinking effect, red color, underline, all the different border colors you can see. You can also see the background color. It is capitalized. Even though I write everything in small letter, let me again write it. Insert H1 tag. I am writing everything in small letter, but it shows me every letter first character in, every word first character in capital letter. So this is what style rules. And if you go to source tab, you know that there are 3 tabs of Composer. Design tab, split tab. Split tab only shows that tag used where your cursor is blinking. So our cursor is here and the tag over there is H1. As you can see here, I had written Nayan Shah in small letter, but it is being displayed in first letter capitalized. And if you click on source tab, it shows you the source of entire style. You must have observed that style is written between style and /style tag. Here is style and this is /style. And if you know HTML, you can make some minute correction in the values specified here. So that is going to split view and seeing the code of only where the cursor is, and going to source view and seeing the code of the entire page. let me show you the source or the code which composer has written automatically when we selected different styles. That is this code with bigger font. I'll copy this in Notepad so that you will understand that how composer is writing all the code when we are doing some activity in composer, either for creating HTML file using normal HTML or using CSS cascading style sheet. So as you can see, this is the code with bigger font size, so that you can see that whatever activity we have done, for that composer has written all this code. It starts with style tag. The type of the style is text type and CSS. Heading 1, that is selector, and then within curly bracket, that curly bracket starts from here, curly bracket ends here, and all these are the style rules as we have defined, like border style, border color, border left, right, bottom, and all this. Colon sign, you remember, it is separating the property and value. Semicolon is used to separate multiple properties. So every property ends with semicolon, so that on next line it can start another property. If you see here, font family is Times New Roman times serif. So that is the font family, that Times New Roman, which is a serif font. There are two types of font, serif font and sans serif font. Times New Roman comes under serif font, so that is how it is displaying the font. If you want to know about difference between serif font and sans serif, just simple. Serif fonts are those which are displayed with some curve, with some decoration, and sans means without. So sans serif font are those fonts where they are displayed without any decoration. It's a straight font. So right now what you see, the typed content in Notepad is a sans serif font. All these are sans serif font. You see there is no decoration. They are just made with straight lines and simple things. But sans serif fonts are those where there are some curves. But let me show you some sans serif font, because Notepad will not support sans serif font much. But let me see. This is like sans serif font. If it displays, that is fine. Yeah, this is sans serif. This is serif font with curve, with decoration. Every character has some decoration. But the previous font, that is this, which we have previously used, that is Vardhana or like Arial, so they are sans serif font. This is sans serif font, no decoration, straight line. So that is serif and sans serif font. This on right hand side edit mode toolbar shows three options: preview, normal. As we discussed in the previous chapter, there is no difference between preview and normal as you observe right now. And then last is HTML tags view, where it shows you the tag like body tag, H1 tag with yellow marker or highlighter. So this is how CSS is applied to web page, cascading style sheet. Remember, then in your web page, wherever you insert H1 tag, you don't need to worry about the effect. You just select heading 1 and effects are applied automatically. Wherever you insert as many number of H1 tag, but if you select H2 tag, heading 2, then nothing will happen. It will just show you simple heading 2. It will not capitalize, no color, no effect, because we have defined style rule for H1 tag. So I hope the things are clear to you. Now we will see the second part of chapter 2, and that is JavaScript. Remember, JavaScript, learning JavaScript is really fun. It is very interesting, and it is one of the most important part for any website, or especially when there is a form on any website. JavaScript or any other scripting language plays very important role. So why we need JavaScript? Let us first understand why we need JavaScript. So The reason behind we need any scripting language is that HTML was originally used and it was designed to control the appearance of the web pages. That how that web page appears on screen, HTML is used for such purpose. We make something bold, so that is appearance. We make something italics, so that is appearance. So basically HTML is used to control the appearance of the different content displayed on web page, that how we want to display that. The web page is designed using simple HTML were static, and they are static. So if you design a web page using only HTML, that web page will remain same throughout. After 1 hour, after 1 week, after 1 year, or after 1 decade, that page will give you same output without any changes, because it is a static web page and it could not be changed after browser rendered them. So once we open it in the browser, it will not change automatically, because using simple HTML, what we create is a static web page, and you understand the meaning of static word. Static means it doesn't change. So normal HTML file created using only HTML tags and without any scripting language are static web page. But you know the demand for website. Nowadays we need websites which are interactive, which are dynamic web pages. So the demand for websites with more interactivity with user and better visual design created the need for a new web programming language. Now you might think that can we use C language or basic language for web page designing? No, we cannot, because all these programming languages are high level programming languages. If you use those programming languages in your web page will become very bulky, and your web page will only open in those computers where those languages are installed. And we know that every computers are not having all the programming languages installed. So that question is not there. So we need a language which is a light-weighted programming language and which runs in every computer. So Netscape developed JavaScript. You know the company name Netscape. So Netscape company has developed JavaScript. Remember, this is the same company who has developed Firefox, Mozilla Firefox, the web browser. The most popular web browser, Mozilla Firefox, is also developed by Netscape. And initially, when this browser was developed, the name of that browser was Netscape Navigator. Then they changed the name to Mozilla Firefox. So Netscape company has developed JavaScript. Remember, there are many other scripting languages. One of them is JavaScript. So JavaScript is a scripting language. This word is again very important. It is not a programming language using which you can create a program for ERP or school management or receipt printing or bill printing or accounting software. No, such programming cannot be done using JavaScript because it is not a full-fledged programming language. JavaScript is scripting language. Now, scripting language are such language where there are no all the programming aspects are covered. No advanced programming aspects are covered. Scripting language are such where there are some of the programming aspects are covered. So it is a light-weighted programming language. It allows you to add programming into web pages. So when you want to add some programming in your web pages, the best way to do that is using any scripting language. You may use JavaScript, you may use VBScript or any other scripting language. So that is what scripting language, why we need it. We need scripting language to make our web page dynamic and for better visual design and to have interactivity with the web page, where as a user we communicate with the web page and web page also will give some response in the return of what we have communicated with the web pages. Then what is JavaScript? As we read in the previous slide also, it's a scripting language. It is a simple, it is a lightweight programming language that does not contain any advanced programming functionalities. It has some functionalities, but not as advanced programming functionalities as in other programming languages. Loops, conditional statements, etc. are there, but they are at very basic level, not as advanced in it is available in C language or Java language. So remember, one more thing to clear here is, don't get confused with Java language and JavaScript. They are totally different. C and Java are programming languages, high-level programming languages, general-purpose programming languages. Whereas JavaScript is a scripting language which is made for mainly for the web page application or website applications. So don't get confused between Java language and JavaScript. Only thing is the name are same, otherwise they are totally different. JavaScript is used in web pages, and why it is used? It is used to improve the design, and the most important thing is to validate the form. Last chapter we discussed how to create HTML form. You must be knowing one thing about form, that when a form is displayed on your screen and when you are filling that form, you can't fill any data. You must follow certain criteria. For example, you have field like enter password and then a field like confirm password. You know that both the passwords must be same. Though you enter different characters in both the field, suppose 8 characters, you might see 8 star or 8 dots in both the fields, but that doesn't mean they are same. So there are certain rules that every website form implies, and we need to follow those rules, or we need those data which we are entering in the form should be valid data. Once again, one more thing you understand. Web page or website or the form on any website are never able to check for the correctness of the data. It can never check for the correctness of the data. If the name we have written any male name, for example, Mahendra Singh Chawda, I had written as the username. And in the gender field, if I select female, form will not give any error. It is not able to take decision that this name is for male, so the male radio button should be checked. It can only check whether you have written name or not, whether name which you have written falls in the condition laid down by the website. For example, some certain website says that the username should be minimum 8 characters, maximum 20 characters. So it must fall in that. Afterward, if you may write username as ABCDEFGHIJKL, then also it will take. So website form are not able to take decision on the correctness of the data, but it can definitely check for the validation of the data, whether the data which are entered by user are valid or invalid. It adds interactivity to HTML pages. So page becomes interactive. You see one example which you might have seen, that on certain website, if you move your mouse on certain place on the web page, then advertisement enlarges, or an advertisement covers almost the entire screen. And when you move away from that place, the advertisement will shrink to original place. So interactivity. You do something, web page will give you some response to that. So that is called interactivity. And it is inserted directly into HTML code. That means JavaScript code or any scripting code is directly written within HTML code. Using JavaScript, a web page no longer remains static. So this is the interesting thing. When we use any scripting language, our web page doesn't remain static. Then it starts giving some responses based on the different activities or different event that occurs on the web page, but can include coding that allows interactivity with the user. So it doesn't remain static, but it includes coding that allows interactivity with the user. So user can start interacting with the web page. User does something, web page responds something. So that is how scripting language helps making your web page dynamic. No longer it remains static. Without any scripting language, your web page remains static web page. But once you include any scripting language, your web page becomes interactive. And you know that nowadays all the websites are interactive website. Think of a website of share market. If it is not interactive, if it is not dynamic, if it is not changing every seconds based on the market situation, then what is the use of that website of share market? We know that share market, when share market is functioning, the website should reflect the prices of every share as and when it changes. So if the web page is static and it is not changing anything or not giving any interactivity, then it's of no use. So scripting language helps making the web page interactive so that user can interact with the web page. Applications of JavaScript. The most common form of JavaScript application today is client-side form script, which runs inside a web browser. In simple language, most common use of JavaScript nowadays is form validation. You open a form, with that form comes a scripting code also, which is in your computer, and it runs in your computer, client side. Client means we, and server is the place from where that website is coming. So it runs inside a web browser in the client machine and does its work. And out of 100 applications of JavaScript, more than 90 applications are written for form validation. So that is the most common use of JavaScript. What kind of that validation it does? So let's say when user enters data in a form on website, he or she might leave some important fields empty, might forget to enter some data where it is required to enter, or may enter some wrong data. Here wrong means invalid data. Wrong doesn't mean incorrect data. As we had taken an example. If I had entered name in the name field or name of a female, and in gender if I select male, that is not wrong data. That is incorrect data. But website or rather JavaScript is not able to check for incorrect data. It is only able to check for invalid data. In such situation, there must be some type of validation. So when user enters something wrong or some field he forgets to enter anything, then there has to be some type of validation which restricts the user from making mistakes and restricts the user entering wrong data. So how to control or how to check whether user is entered all the data valid and he is not forgotten to enter data where it is compulsory to required. So JavaScript is used to validate the data that is entered in the HTML forms, and that validation is done on the client side. So before your form goes to the server, your form data is getting validated, and where it is getting validated? It is getting validated in your computer, that is in client machine. And there is a reason behind it. Suppose this validation is done at server side. Then what happens? You fill a form, you submit that form, form data goes to server, server will check the data. If it is invalid, again it will send it back. Again you make some correction, again you send the data, again server will check. So server will become busy in just checking the validity of the data. And server will become very busy and it cannot respond in time to other users. So to solve that problem, form validation is done at client side. Once your form is having all the data entered properly without any mistake, then only the form data goes to server. So that is the applications of JavaScript. Next lecture we will see in detail JavaScript, that how form validation is done using JavaScript. We will just now see that what kind of validation is generally required in form validation. So generally we check that has the user left any required field empty where there is compulsory to enter something. Has the user entered a valid email address or not? Remember, valid email address, not correct email address. So you know that sometimes on different website, if we don't want to give our email address, we may write a@b.com, because JavaScript is only checking whether there is @ and dot sign and in proper order in your entered data or entered email or not. It cannot check for the actual email address whether it is correct or not, unless it is sending some confirmation email, and then from that confirmation email you have to write some code. Then it checks whether the content of two password fields are same or not. Has the user entered a valid date or not? Has the user has entered text in the numeric field or not? Suppose it is asking for a numeric field to enter pin code, and if user enters some alphabet, so that also we can check. So this kind of validation can be done using JavaScript. How to write JavaScript code? The first thing, before you understand form validation, we should know that how a user, how you can write JavaScript code. So as JavaScript code runs from within the HTML web pages, means it runs within the page. Let me clear that it is running at client side. You know what is client. See, when we are using internet, it is a relationship of client and server. The website which we are visiting and from where that website is coming, that is server, and we becomes the client. So JavaScript code runs at the client machine, that means in our machine. Once everything is okay in our form, there is no error in our form, then only form data goes to server. Until then it remains in our computer. So it checks for validation of all the data in our computer, that is in client machine. So the JavaScript code can be put directly inside the web page as a separate section. So we may write JavaScript code in our HTML file as a separate section, as we have done for style, cascading style sheet. The JavaScript code is inserted into an HTML page using the script and /script tags. So like style sheet, cascading style sheet, where the CSS code is written between style and /style, JavaScript code is inserted in HTML file within script and /script tag. So script tag indicates that now we are writing JavaScript, and /script indicates that scripting code is now over. So the lines written between the script and /script tags, they contain JavaScript code. There we don't write HTML then. We write only JavaScript. Now one more thing about JavaScript which you need to remember is, it is case sensitive language. Now when you say case sensitive, means it has a difference between capital letter and small letter, where HTML is not case sensitive. For example, HTML tag, for example the script tag is HTML tag. If you write script tag in capital letter, you write in small letter, or you may write it in mixed letters, some characters capital and some characters small letter, it is fine, because HTML is not case sensitive. As far as the spelling is script, it is fine. But JavaScript is not like that. JavaScript is case sensitive, means in JavaScript commands, whichever character is capital, it has to be capital, and whichever character is small, it has to be small character. That is what I mean by case sensitivity. JavaScript can be placed in the body section or in the head section of HTML file. So you may write, depending on your requirement, you may write JavaScript code within body section, or you may write it within head section. It totally depends on the what kind of requirements as a user we have for the JavaScript in our web page. The script tag tells the browser to interpret all the text between script and /script tag as script code. So once, as I said, once browser encounters a script tag, then it will start interpreting the rest of the things as scripting code until it encounters /script tag. So everything written between script and /script must be of scripting language, because it will be interpreted by scripting language by the browser. So that is how we write JavaScript code. Remember, it is purely the requirement of the programmer and the web page that where you will insert JavaScript code. You may require to insert it somewhere in the body section, or sometimes you may require it to insert into the head section. But wherever you insert, the pure JavaScript code is always written between script and /script tag. This is a simple example of JavaScript code given in the textbook. You know most of the HTML tag, HTML file is beginning with HTML and it ends with /HTML. Here it just shows you the head section, and in head section you can see title, script, /script. In the last head there has to be slash, which is missing, but it should be /head. But we are focused to see only the things which is written between script and /script. There is only one line written, document.write, and within bracket, within double inverted comma, some word. Let's say here it is Kavinai, and then semicolon. So let us understand these lines. Here in this statement, write is a method. Write is a method of JavaScript which is a part of the document object. So it is again object oriented programming. So document being an object. Now document means web page. Here document means web page. So on web page we want to write something. So we say document.write. The string which you want to be displayed as output is written within double inverted comma. So here it is Kavinai, or whatever you want to print on screen using JavaScript, then it has to be written within double inverted comma. Then within double inverted comma you may write something which is meaningful or meaningless. Whatever you write within double inverted comma will be printed as it is on the screen. So the string is written within double inverted comma. It is almost in every programming language the concept is same, that is string is always written within double inverted comma. The semicolon which you see at the end of the line or end of the statement is optional. It is totally optional to put semicolon, because the use of semicolon is to indicate mark of separation. It is not indicating mark of termination. So it is used to mark separation. That means if you are writing multiple statements on the same line, एक ज लाइन ऊपर एक करता વધારે statements लगता होइए, then those statements should be separated by semicolon. But if you are writing every statements on a new line, separate line, then there is no need of putting semicolon. You may avoid putting semicolon, but as a programmer, it is most of the programmers' style and habit of putting semicolon at the end of every statement. So remember, but one thing, as far as board exam is concerned, this statement is very important, that it says that semicolon at the end of statement is optional and it is used as a mark of separation rather than mark of termination. If you write each statement on a new line, then you need not put a semicolon. JavaScript statements can be grouped together. So if you want to group some statements together, you want to say that all these statements are in one group, then it must be written within set of curly brackets, which is not shown here, but we will see further in next example. So JavaScript code begins with open block of statements, rather you say block of statements or group of statements begins with opening curly bracket and ends with closing curly bracket. So when you have block of statements together to be executed, or you want to say that all these statements belongs to one group, then you put it in a group by indicated by opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket. What is a function in JavaScript? A function, which is also known as a routine, or even it is also known as method, is a reusable code that performs a particular task. So we write a function, or we write a method, or we write a routine which is performing certain task and which can be reused again and again whenever it is required. Take example of Excel. Excel, there are so many functions: sum function, average function, minimum function, maximum function. So all these functions are performing certain tasks, and you know that you can use all these functions as many times you want to use. You can reuse it as many times you want to reuse it. So a function is a reusable code. A function is defined by the keyword function in JavaScript. In JavaScript, a function is defined by the keyword function. Remember now that word function is entirely written in small letter. You cannot change that, because just before one slide we saw that JavaScript is case sensitive. That means whatever is written or defined in JavaScript in small letter has to be written in small letter, and whatever is defined in JavaScript as capital letter, it has to be written as capital. So a function is defined by the keyword function, and the block of code which we want to execute for that function is written inside curly brackets. That also we saw. A block of code means all those statements which we want to execute together, or we want to say that this is belonging to one group, should be written inside curly brackets. JavaScript provides some inbuilt functions also. See the functions, there are two types of functions: user-defined functions and inbuilt functions. User-defined functions are the functions which we define for our own use on the web page. We want to do some particular activity and we define our own function for that activity to be carried out. But there are some functions which are inbuilt functions which are already provided by JavaScript to the user to be used directly. That is called inbuilt function. There is one function, such one function, that is called alert function. Alert function takes the text and displays it in an alert box. Now you must be knowing that what kind of alert box, or what is an alert box. Alert box, whatever message you write in alert function, that will be displayed on web page in alert box, and there will be one OK button. Unless and until you click on that OK button, that message will remain on web page until you click on OK button. So it makes sure that user has seen this message and then clicked it on OK. So alert message is something where it gives some alert message to the user, so that user will come to know that there is something, this kind of thing happening in my web page, and web page is giving me some alert. For example, in a form you have written two different passwords, so there is some mistake in typing. So alert box will come and it will say that both the passwords are not matching, and there will be OK button. So unless and until you click OK button, that message remains on screen. So to make sure that user has already seen this message, so that user can take proper action. Alert करे છે, it just gives you alert. So that is alert function in JavaScript. More about functions in JavaScript. A function will be executed by an event. Now remember, what is an event? An event means when something happens, that is called event. You click on web page, you double click on web page, you drag something on web page, you right click something on web page, you move your mouse on particular area on web page, all these things are considered as an event. Event means something happening on the web page, or when it is called inside a source code. So function, when it will get executed in two situations, either when an event occurs, if something happens then that particular function will get executed, or we call that function from the source code inside the source code. So either we call that function, and otherwise if certain event occurs on the web page, that event will trigger that function. Most of the time it will be based on event. The best example of event and function getting executed is, you might have seen many websites where there is small advertisement. When your mouse goes on that advertisement, the advertisement gets enlarged and occupying almost the screen. And when your mouse moves away from that web page, that advertisement gets collapsed again. So that is event. Another example is, on many websites you see some scrolling text, mostly on news website and share market website, you see some scrolling text. Now when you move your mouse on that scrolling text, that scrolling will pause, and as you again move your mouse away from that scrolling text, the text starts scrolling. So that is again event of a mouse coming on particular area and event of mouse going out of particular area. So remember, JavaScript function gets executed when certain event occurs. A function can be called anywhere from within the source code. Once you have defined a function, it can be called from any part of your web page. A function is called by its name. That is very obvious because there may be so many functions. So if you want to call a particular function, you need to call that function by its name. A function can take a value inside the parenthesis, inside the brackets, that is inside the bracket. You see this function, right, is a function. It's a ready-made function, built-in function. And parameter is kavine, that is written within bracket. So a function takes a value inside the parenthesis. This value is passed as a parameter to the function. So while calling a function, we pass some parameter. Those parameters will go to the original function, and then function will do some action on that value. So here in this example, we are passing a string to the function write, and write function, what it will do to that string is, it will display it on web page or on the screen. If we want function to return some value, then we should use a return statement. So if you feel that the function which you are writing, and when you are calling that function and you are sending some parameters to that function, you also want that function to return something in as an output, either true or false or some value or something. So if you want your function to return some value, then we should use a return statement before the name of the function. Everything, this thing will be seen practically also, but right now you just try to understand that a function is a routine, or a function is a method which is doing some activity when certain event occurs. So whenever certain event occurs, a function will trigger, and it can be called from anywhere or from any part of the source code, and it must be called by its name. And there are some function who is taking some values inside its parameter, that is called its parameter, which is taken as in the bracket. Just again compare with Excel function, sum function. Sum function of Excel is taking some parameter as argument within the bracket. You write is equal to sum into bracket 10, 15, and 10, 15 is parameter which are passed to the function sum. So that is what function and its parameter. And if you want function to return something in JavaScript, then we must use the return statement. We will see what is an event. An event, the interaction between the user and the web page creates event. As I said, when we are on any website is able to trap all our event through scripting code, that where exactly our mouse is going, where we are clicking, where we are double clicking, where we are right clicking, when page is loading, when page is getting unloaded, when there is error occurring. So all these events can be triggered on any web page, and scripting code is capable of observing this event, and if user has written some program or the web designer has written some program for that event, then that program will trigger. But how that event occurs on the web page? So as a result of interaction between user and the web page, which causes the browser to generate an event. So in other words, you can say when user does something on web page, an event takes place. Whatever you do, even if you are steady on your web page, that is also an event. If you are just not doing anything, just moving your mouse here and there on web page, that is also an event. So event means when user is doing something on the web page. When an event occurs, a specific JavaScript code is executed. A particular code which is written for that particular event gets executed, and this JavaScript code is known as event handler. So remember, for every event there is event handler. For every event in JavaScript there are event handlers. Event handlers are nothing but a small program written to handle that event. For example, event is raining. In real life, if we take one example, event is raining, then event handler is to take out umbrella. So event and event handler, when certain event occurs, that event handler takes place. So event handler in JavaScript is nothing but a special code which is executed when that particular event occurs, and that code is called event handler. Event handler names are kept same as the name of the event. Whatever is the name of the event handler name is also kept same. For example, click event will have event handler as on click. The only thing is we put on before the event name. Click event, then event handler would be on click. Mouse over event, event handler would be on mouse. About event, event handler would be about. DBL click, that is for double click, DBL click, then event handler would be on DBL click. Submit event, then event handler would be on submit. So that is an event. When particular event occurs, an event handler triggers and it will do some activity. Let us see the different names of the event and their usage. About event. So loading of image or web page is cancelled when a image is being loaded, or a video is being loaded, or entire web page is being loaded on your screen, and if you cancel that in between, that is called about event. What will be the event handler for about event? On about. We will abbreviate, we will prefix it with on word. Blur event. Element such as radio button becomes inactive. So blur event, blur and focus. If you look at the last event on this page, focus event, generally these two events occurs together. Blur is the position of the cursor which was just before current position, and focus is the position of the cursor at present. So you know that suppose there are two boxes on web page for first name and last name, and your cursor is on the first name box. If you press tab key, cursor will jump from first name box to last name box. So on first name box, event is blur because cursor just moved from there, and for last name box, event would be focus because now cursor came over there. So blur and event, blur event and focus event. Click event, when user clicks on a form element or anywhere on the web page, click event. Change event, value of a form field is changed by user. Suppose in particular box there is some value written, username is written, and you are changing it by delete key or backspace key. So that is called change event. Error event occurring during loading of web page or image, that for any reason image is not loading or web page is not loading for some error. So that is error event. Focus event we discussed. It is the focus that elements such as button becomes active, and blur is button becomes inactive. Load event. Load event, that is document or image is loaded. So when document web page comes on the screen or image or video comes on the screen, it is load event. Mouse out event is when mouse moves away from the element, and mouse over event is when mouse moves over certain element on web page. So mouse out and mouse over. Again, mouse over spelling, there is a U which is extra. Reset event, that form fields are reset to default values. So when user clicks on the reset button, the event is reset, and for that event handler would be on reset. Select event, when user selects a form field by mouse, that is select event. Again, for select event, event handler would be on select. Submit event, when user clicks on the submit button, it is submit event. Unload event is when user leaves web page, or when user moves from one web page to another web page, the previous page gets unloaded. So that is unload event. And load event, we already saw, document or image is loaded. So these are the some of the events which are given in the textbook. Remember, for all these event handler would be by prefixing on word before it. So these are the different events you need to see, and I hope you know what is now event. An event is an interaction between the user and the web page. When we do anything on a web page, that is considered as event. And when website wants to do something, when user does something, then website has to write event handling programming. So now let us see practically how we can write JavaScript code. So for that, we start with HTML. We'll see the same example first, and then we'll see one more interesting example. Head section / head section, and within head section we will write title my first JavaScript code. That should be the title. Let's say /title, and after /head we will start with body section and then /body. Now within body section I want to write script, so I'll say script and /script. Now here I will write document dot write into bracket welcome to JavaScript tutorial and semicolon. We'll write one more line, and that is document dot write into bracket thank you and semicolon. Save this file. We will save this file on desktop, and we'll give name as Java, or rather js1.html. Saved it, and now we will open that document js1 in the browser. So as you can see, it is showing welcome to JavaScript tutorial and thank you. Both are displayed on the same line because there is no BR written anywhere. Now we'll see that, because I wanted to show you that particular thing, so I'd written like that. So let us come back to Notepad code, and now I want to introduce BR. Now as you know that between script and /script we can write only JavaScript, but as a part of string we can write anything. So within that inverted comma, welcome to JavaScript tutorial, I am writing BR tag. Now what will happen? JavaScript will send this entire thing to browser. Browser will try to display it as a string, but as and when browser encounters BR tag, that is something written within angular bracket, it will try to interpret as HTML tag. So let us see now what happens. As you can see now, both are displayed on the separate line. So this is one way we can introduce HTML also within script, but it should be written like this. If you simply write HTML tag somewhere within this script tag, let's say this bold hello and /b, then see what happens. Nothing will happen. As I said, JavaScript is a strict language. If there is a single error, it will not show you the entire script. So here JavaScript is unable to understand what is b and /b written in rectangular bracket. So this is how we have written a simple code for JavaScript to display something on screen. Now let me show you one more thing. If I am writing these two statements on same line and I am not putting this semicolon, see what happens. Again it will give you error, so no display. Because if you are writing multiple statements on the same line, then putting semicolon is compulsory. So here and here semicolon, save this, come back, refresh, and it will come. But if you are writing these statements on separate line as it was previously, then these semicolons are optional, because semicolon is only required when multiple statements are on same line. As you see, it shows the output perfectly even though I have removed the semicolon. So if JavaScript statements are written on separate line, the semicolon is not required. But you will see that most of the programmer has the habit of putting semicolon at the end of every statement, and it's a good habit to keep semicolon at the end. Now we will see one very interesting program, not given in the textbook, but just for you to understand the power of JavaScript and what is event handling. So for that we create one file. What this file we are going to do is, we will be writing some colors name, different color name, and then whenever my mouse moves over that particular color, the screen color will change accordingly. Very interesting, very small program. JavaScript example, let's say title is like that, and /title, and then in body section we will write script code. So before writing script code, let me say change the font size is equal to 7 I am doing, so that it will look bigger on the web page. And now I don't want to write JavaScript directly. I'm going to write JavaScript within HTML tag, that is called inline code. So for that, script and /script is not required. I simply write bold, red, and /b. First I'm showing you just color names displayed on web page: bold, green, /b, and br. Let me save this file with js2.html, and let us simply see the output of js2. See, right now it just displays two words, red and green, and if I move my mouse anywhere on the web page, nothing is happening, and it is very obvious because there is no script code written for this. But now let me introduce script code within bold tag. So I'm not writing script as a separate tag. I'm writing script code within bold tag, that is called inline code. So over there I am writing on mouse over. This is an event handler, on mouse over. So whenever mouse moves over particular thing, what I want to do is equal to document, that is web page dot bg color that is background color. But observe the BG color. BG is in small, color C is capital, spelling of color is COLOR, American spelling, is equal to double inverted comma red, and then I'm completing this single inverted comma. Don't get confused. This double inverted comma gets over here, so that is double inverted comma, and this single inverted comma gets over here, that is single inverted comma. Save this, come to the browser, refresh it, and now what you will see. I am moving my mouse on green, nothing is happening because we have not written anything for green. But as and when, just observe, as and when my mouse touches the word red, and what happened? The background color of screen became red. Now I am moving mouse everywhere, it remains red only. Now what I actually want is, whenever my mouse touches the word red, then only it should become red. Otherwise it should again become white. So for that we make another changes in this. We put semicolon because we are writing now multiple statements. We write another event on mouse out. Previously it was on mouse over. Now we are saying on mouse out is equal to inverted comma document dot bg color, that is background color, is equal to double inverted comma white and then single inverted comma over. If you are typing for practice this code, and if the line goes on next line, let it go. But you don't press enter anywhere in this code. Just write this entire line from this B to BR continuously. You don't press enter. If it goes automatically on the next line, let it go. Save this, come here, refresh, and now see the magic. As my mouse touches the word red, screen becomes red, and as I move away from it, it becomes white. Red, white, red, white, red, white. Once you are clear with this, once this thing is running properly, what you do is just delete this line and copy this line. Copy this 1, 2, as many times you want to copy, as many colors you want. Say green here, green, and even green here, blue here. We are saying 3 color, red, green and blue here. Save this, come to the browser, refresh it. Now see the magic. My mouse goes on blue, screen becomes blue, then green, and then red, red, green, blue, and if it is away from all these three, it is white. Red, green, blue, and white. So this is the power of JavaScript. Event handling. Now remember what is happening. Here the event of on mouse over happens. So when my mouse goes over this object or this text, it is becoming red. And why it is becoming red? Because we have written here that on mouse over, whenever the mouse is coming over this bold tag, that is a red word, document's background color should become red, and on mouse out, that is whenever my mouse moves away from that red word, document color should become white, and same for green and same for blue. So isn't it interesting? You can see that with a very little code, we have actually written only one line, and this one line. Then we have copy pasted and just changed the name of the color. But within that one code or one line code, you can see that how interesting web page you can create. And you might have seen such website and web pages where you move your mouse on particular area and the color changes. So that is because of JavaScript. There is one more thing to show you the scripting effect. If you just look at this notepad screen, as I move my mouse on help, do you see some changes? The help background color changes to sky blue. So that is also because of certain event. As it moves on view, the view background color changes. So that is again something like this only, where there is some event occurring and there is some program written for that, and that is called event handler. So for every event, there are some event handler written. But once again, if there is a simple mistake, for example, mistake of like this, the semicolon is missed, I just forgot the semicolon, and see what happens. Now, okay, sometimes it again don't give error because I forgot to save this, but suppose there are certain mistakes here and there, what you will see that browser will not respond to that particular thing. See, now for blue it is not responding, green it is responding, again for red it is not responding because we have some errors on those two lines. So let me correct it and then again save it and come back here and refresh it. Now it becomes red, green and blue. So I hope you understood these two examples. One is of this where we have just displayed something. Actually, JavaScript is not used for such purpose. If you want to display something, there is no need to write anything. You can write anything in body tag simply and it will be displayed. But when you want to do something like this is where actually event is occurring. There are certain events occurring on mouse over, on mouse out event. And based on that event, there are some action taken place. That is called event handling. So I hope you like this example. Copy this or check this example and you can try it in your computer with some modifications also. For size, let me tell you one thing, that font size for HTML ranges from 1 to 7. So minimum is 1. Minimum size is 1, which is like this, as small as this. As small as this. You can see. And maximum size is 7 only. You cannot write anything above 7. If you write anything above 7, let's say 12, the size will remain 7 only. See, it is not changing. The size is as it is. So for font size, smallest size is 1 and the biggest size is 7 when you are changing font size using font tag of HTML. So that is how we have seen this thing. Variable. You know, variable, if you are doing maths in your numericals in physics or numericals of chemistry or even in maths group students, you know variable. When we say suppose x is equal to 10, so that x is a variable. The variable is a container for storing data. So while doing programming, if you want your computer or rather your program to remember certain values so that it can be used throughout the program, then you need to create variable. The variable word itself is giving its meaning, variable, the ability to change. So a variable has ability to change its value whenever user wants. So if you say somewhere in your program x is equal to 10 and then afterward you may say x is equal to 55. Again somewhere in your program you may say x is equal to y plus 9 or something like this. So a variable can keep on changing its value as per the requirement of the program. Variable in JavaScript are case sensitive, remember. So if you create a variable with small a and if you create another variable name with capital A, then both are different. So variable names are also case sensitive. Variables can store numbers, it can store strings or simple text. So variable can hold any of this kind of value. If you see the examples down, the first variable x is equal to 3, it is storing number. So when you want to store numbers, you write it without inverted comma. Second example, if you see variable y is equal to hello, that's a string. So when you want to store some string, you write it within double inverted comma. Variable z is equal to 12a is again a string where you may write alphabets and numbers or any other special characters also. So any kind of text. But when it is written within double inverted comma, it is called string. So even if I write variable z is equal to within inverted comma 12, then it's a string and that value cannot be used in calculation. So remember that. So in JavaScript, we can declare a variable using the keyword var. But again, remember, use of var keyword is totally optional. So all these three examples which you see in the screen, variable x is equal to 3, variable y is equal to hello, variable z is equal to 12a. In all these three examples, you may remove the word var or the keyword var because writing var is optional. You just simply say x is equal to 3 and JavaScript will create variable with the name x and it will allocate value 3. Actually, what is happening when we create variable? When we create variable, our program reserves a certain space in the computer's memory, and that space name will be given as the name of the variable. So for example, x, and that space will store a value which we have assigned to that variable. So that is in this example 3. So particular memory location in our computer will be named as x and it will hold value 3 which in future can be changed. So that is variable. If statement. If statement is the most common and easy to understand statement. It is a conditional statement. We use if statement in our day-to-day life. If you don't study, you will fail. If you don't do this sum, you will get punishment. So if is something which is written exactly the way as we speak in our spoken language. It is used to change the flow of the program. The main reason using if in our programming is to change the flow. Generally, program evaluates statement one by one sequentially. But at certain point of time, you come across a situation where you need to take decision that if this situation is true, you want to do this thing. And if it is not true, you want to skip doing those things. So that is if statement. So the if statement evaluates an expression, the expression which we write after if within a bracket. That's a Boolean expression. What is Boolean expression? The expression which results in true or false. So the if statement evaluates an expression to validate specific condition which we have written within bracket. If the condition is true, then the program enters if block, that is indicated by opening and closing curly bracket, and executes all the statements inside it. And if it is false, if the condition results false, it will not do those, or it will not execute those statements which are written after if. So that is if statement, checking a condition and executing those statements only and only when the condition is resulting true. If condition results false, it will skip those statements. So it's very useful statement. You might have learned in some of the other programming languages also previously. If not, you must have used it in Excel. Excel also provides if function. And using if function, you know that you can check a value of a particular cell of your Excel sheet and decide what to do when condition is true and what to do when condition is false. So if is a conditional statement. Browser object model. This is something new topic. So you need to understand this with the utmost care, that what is browser object model and what it is used for. See, all the browsers are split into different parts of objects that can be accessed using JavaScript. You know, the work of JavaScript is to check everything on the web page. And you know that web pages are displayed in browser. So browser has got different parts. They are split into different parts. There is address bar, there is a connection settings which is shown, there is a area where web page is displayed, and again on that web page you will have so many other things. So a browser are split into different parts of objects that can be accessed using JavaScript code. These parts are known as browser object model, or in short BOM. So that is browser object model. Now sometimes we use JavaScript to control the web browser. Many times rather, not sometimes. Many times we need to use JavaScript in order to control the behavior of web browser. So to control the web browser's window or the web page rather, we use browser object model. So main purpose of browser object model is to control the content on the web page, or rather to take some action when something happens on web page. But to take that action and what to do can be decided using browser object model, because you need to understand that on a web page there are so many things, and when something happens, particular information you want to make some modification. So how to reach to that particular object on the web page? So what is the hierarchy of reaching to that particular object? That is what browser object model is defining. It's something like specifying address. If I want to specify the address of Galaxy Talkies to somebody who is coming from outside Rajkot and not seen Rajkot, then I will explain him that Rajkot city, in Rajkot city you come to the racecourse area. In that racecourse area there is a road going towards the police office. From there you take the turn and you will find racecourse. On racecourse you will find Talkies, that is Galaxy Talkies. So that is how we explain the path or the how to reach there. Same thing happens here. For example, user clicks on a radio button on web page. Then if particular radio button is clicked or particular checkbox is clicked, I want to activate one button. You know that most of the software they give I accept terms and condition, and when you tick on that, put a tick mark on that, then only next button gets activated. So how does computer know that where is that button and how to activate them? Where is that radio button where user is putting tick mark? So that can be reached or there using browser object model. On the top of the browser hierarchy is always window object. સૌથી top ઉપર શું હોય? Window. You know that whenever you open any program in computer, what we call is window is open. If you open paintbrush, we say paintbrush window is open. If you open Word, we say Word document is open or Word window is open. If you open Notepad, we say Notepad window is open. So every software opens in a window. So on the top of the browser hierarchy is the window object. Here you can see this document object model now. So on the top of this is window object. સૌથી top ઉપર window object છે. And those four things which you read, that is frame, parent, self and top, they are the type of the window. There can be four types of window. Framed window. Framed window is something like this, as you see here. This is framed window where browser window is divided into multiple parts. Each part can display individual content. Each part can display individual web page. So this is framed window. As you can see, it is divided into three frames. One is on left hand side and two windows on the right hand side. So that is framed window. Parent window is the window from where we came here. You click on a link and you go to the new page. So the previous page from where you came here, that is called parent window. Self window is the default window, the window which is open right now. That is self window. And top window, when there are multiple windows open, there will be only one window which will be active, which will be on the top, rest will be in the background. So that is top window, like this. Here there are two windows of paintbrush open, window 1, window 2. But which is the top window? The one which is in the front. So that is, this window is top window. So whatever you do will be done here. The window 1 is in the background. So window 2 is the top window. So remember, there are four types of window when we say window object. So window object are again of four types. A framed window where there can be multiple windows on in one window. Parent window, the window from where we came to this current location or current web page by clicking on a link or by pressing the next button or previous button or back button or like that. Self window is the default window, the window which we are working in. And top window are the window when there are multiple windows open, the only one window will be on the top. So that is top window. Now this window can have three things in it. History of the window, a document which is displayed in the window, and the location of the window. A window can have its history, a window is displaying a document, and window will have its location. Again, if we go further in document, now we will not discuss about history and location, not in our syllabus. So we will discuss about document, that is what is displayed in the window. So in document, there can be again three things where user can have some interaction or user can have some activity with. So that is, a document can have link, a document can have a form, a document can have an anchor. Again, we will discuss only about form. Link and anchor, you know that they take you to either next other page, new page, or it will take you to somewhere in the same document. Form, now we are bothered about form. A form can have all these things. It can have a radio button, it can have text area box, it can have simple button, user defined button, it can have selection box, it can have checkbox, password box, reset button, text box. It can have all these things. Out of this selection box, again we'll have some options in it. So this is what the hierarchy it shows. So let me tell you one thing, that if you want to reach to particular option of drop down menu, you need to start from window. Inside window you will have document, inside document you will have form, inside the form you will have selection box, and in that you will have option. So it shows you the hierarchy, how you can reach to a particular object on web page, and this is denoted by document object model. So this is framed window. As you can see the screen is divided into multiple frames. Each frame will display a unique web page. You might see this kind of frame in almost every website, where in one frame advertisement is scrolling, another frame you might have some menu options, and another frame where you will see the details about whichever option, menu option you select. And this is top window. So let us see something in detail about document object model. Document object model represents the hierarchy of entire browser along with its toolbar, menu bar, status bar, web page, and many more components of the browser. Though our document object model diagram has not shown all these things, but it is possible that we can represent the entire hierarchy where toolbar and menu bar and status bar and everything is included. We have just considered web page in that. The top level object in browser object model is always window object. As I said, whenever anything is open, any program is open, we say window is open. And to represent the browser window or individual frame within the window, we use the top level object, that is browser object model. The window object is the global object as it is containing all the other objects of the browser object model. So window object is the global object because that is the common. Window will be there, then only there will be document. So window object is a common object, global object, and it contains all other objects of browser object model. So on the top is window object and then under window object you will have this browser object model. The document object is the most important object in the browser object model, and it is used to represent the web page displayed in the browser. So the document object model is the most important because we are dealing with web page. So we will concentrate on document object model. And why it is most important? Because it represents the everything which is displayed on the web page, and we are bothered about how we can refer to different objects on web page. So for us, document object model is the most important object of browser object model. All the elements of the web page, that is like form, images, link, table, everything which is displayed on web page are contained within the document object model, or rather document object. So everything. So whenever you want to refer something on web page, you must begin from document object. So on the base, we start with document object. Document object is like when I was specifying address, it is like Rajkot. Then in Rajkot race course. So slowly we go to the particular location. Similarly, on the top of the hierarchy is document. And then in document, we will have form, image, link, table, list, other things, so many things. So that is document object model. Is none function. One of the most frequently asked question in board exam is about is none function. It is a built-in function. Built-in function means the function which is readily available in JavaScript. So JavaScript uses some built-in functions to work with numeric values. And one of the most commonly used numeric function is none, where none stands for not a number. So is not a number. So it's a function which checks for the value and checks whether the value is number or not a number. So the function is none, where we write some value in the bracket, determines whether the value is not a number. The function returns true if the value is not a number. So in the bracket, whatever you write and that thing is not a number, then it will return true. And if it is a pure number, remember pure number, then it will return false. Sorry, true. If it is true, so the function returns true if the value is not a number, and if it is a pure number, then it will return false. So for example, is none 123, where 123 is a pure number, it is actually 123. So it will return false because the 123 is a number and we are checking is not a number, so it will return false. But if you write is none within double inverted comma 123, though it is looking like 123, is actually not 123, it is character 1, character 2, character 3. So this will return true as the value of inverted comma 123 is not a number and it's a string. So let us understand some of the examples here. If I write is none, so just observe the capital and small also. You know that JavaScript is case sensitive. So in is none, capital N has to be capital N. So that is none, and if I write within inverted comma hello, then this will return, because hello is not a number. Yes, it is not a number, so it will return true. And if I say is none into bracket 234, then it will return false. And if I say is none into bracket inverted comma a123 inverted comma, this again will return true. If it is none into bracket some pure number, then also it will return false. So these are some of the example. If this thing is asked in exam, you can make a sentence that is hello not a number. You just make a sentence like this: is hello not a number? Then you say true, or you say is 234 not a number, and that is how you check the value. So that is none function. Now let us write a code for validating pin code. So we go to Notepad. I have already written one code, and let me first explain that how it is. First, let us start with body tag. This much body, just to make your web page more interesting and colorful, I've written BG color, that is background color of the web page. And as you see, background color is a hexadecimal code, 6-digit hexadecimal code, where first 2 digits are representing red color, third and fourth digit represents green color, and last 2 digit represents blue color intensity. So mixing these 3 colors, it makes one color. Since it is a hexadecimal number, it has the digits like 0 to 9 and ABCDEF. Then I had written heading 1. Heading 1, I have aligned it in center, and just a heading I had written is validating pin code field. And then I started with form tag, and you are very well aware about form. Form tag has got attributes like name is equal to FRM. That is my choice. I had given the name FRM. When you practice, you may give something else. Method is equal to post. You use post when you want your form data to be submitted securely. action is equal to abc.html is not useful for us. It is actually what page or what action will be taken when form is submitted. So further, what action. And now this is what something new I have introduced, and that is submit event. So on submit is the event handler for submit event. So whenever user clicks on submit button, it will trigger submit event, and when submit event is triggered, it will try to execute on submit event handler. And you know that event handler is a small program written in response to that particular event. So what we are doing is, whenever a submit event occurs or whenever user clicks on the submit button, we will execute a function whose name is validate form. So return validate form. So whatever validate form function will execute, that answer will return here. So validate form, again you see how validate form is written with validate and form with F capital. Now this function we need to write in head section. So we will write it within head section, starting with the command function, and the name of the function is validate form, which should be exactly same as we have written here. So that is validate form. This opening curly bracket and this closing curly bracket indicates the definition of validate form function. So that is the definition, or rather what that function is doing. Then we create a variable p, and where we store the value of what user has entered in the pin code field. So we say p is equal to document.frm.pc.value. For submit button and pin code button, I had written this code. Input type is equal to text, name is equal to PC. So that is PC is the name of the pin code field, and I had written a submit button also. Remember, for submit button also I had written value attribute. It's a good practice to write value attribute so that every browser will display this submit button with this value which you have written here. If you don't write, then it may happen that different browser displays submit button with some different title. So it is good practice to write value attribute with submit button. Function validate form. So we are creating a variable p where we are storing what is written in the PC field. So how to reach to PC field? That is document object model. First we go to document. Inside the web document we have FRM form. Inside form we have PC kind of field, and then value of that PC kind of field that is stored in variable p. And then we check if p.length means the length of the value entered by user is greater than 6, or this or is two vertical pipe which is somewhere around shift key on right hand side. We say p.length less than 6. You know that our pin code is exactly 6 digit. So pin code cannot be less than 6. Pin code cannot be greater than 6. If any one of these thing happens, it's an error. So we are checking if p.length greater than 6 or is indicated by double pipe. P.length less than 6. Then we give a alert message. Now alert is again a ready-made method available in JavaScript, which will display what you write within the bracket on screen, and then there will be a OK button to make sure the user has read this message. So a message will be displayed saying that wrong pin code entered, try again. And then we will take control back to PC field, and whatever old pin code is entered by user which was wrong will be selected. And written false means form will not get submitted because there is some error. Once this is over and you come out, now you will be able to come out or come to this point only when pin code is exactly 6 digit. That time we will say return true and form gets submitted. So I'm saving this document and then I'm opening this document. As you can see, heading 1 validate pin code field, then enter pin code field is here, and then submit button, if you want me to increase the size of the visual size of the form. Okay, so you can see it properly. If I enter only 3 digit and click on submit button, it will say wrong pin code entered, try again. This is alert box with OK button. Unless and until user clicks on OK button, this message will remain on screen. So it makes sure that user has read this. So click on OK after reading the message. As you saw, it is already selected the previous pin code which is wrong. So you don't need to delete it or anything. It is because of select event written here, document.frm.pc.select. If you refer to textbook instead of using select event, textbook is using focus event. So focus event will only bring cursor there. You need to delete the data and then retype. Whereas select event will go there and select the data so that you can directly start typing new pin code. Now if I enter pin code like this, which is more than 6 digits, click on submit. Again it says it's a wrong. Click OK, it is selected. But now let me show you one more thing. I have written exactly 6 characters. And if I click on submit, it is not giving any error and form is getting submitted, which should not happen because there is some wrong data. Our pin code is pure digit. So let us introduce the condition for that purpose also. Here another condition, here we add or, another or, is none into bracket p. So we are checking that p is not a number. If it is again not a number, we will give error. So let us now see how. If I say now ABC 1 2 3, even though it is 6 digit, it gives error that wrong pin code entered, try again. So I hope you understood the concept that first we are checking for the length of the pin code field, should not be greater than 6, should not be less than 6. Then we are checking for the not a number. If it is not a number, then this. There is one more thing given in the textbook which is actually not required now because we already checked for the length. But let's say we see that also. It says that p is equal to null or p is equal to blank. Though it is not required now because we are checking for whether it is blank or it is null, which is already checked when we check the length. But let it be there. It won't make much difference. If I leave it blank, it will give me error. But there are two things to study about this and to understand about this. One is this double equal sign. Why double equal? And why here single equal? This is very important to understand for you. This will help you to understand even the further in any other programming if you study in future. This single equal means assignment. Means you are assigning RHS, this RHS to LHS. You are assigning it. So whatever is the calculation or the result written on right hand side, that will be assigned to left hand side variable. That is assignment statement. Whereas double equal is not assignment, double equal is comparison. You are comparing that the value of p and blank. Blank is indicated by 2 continuous inverted comma. So that means nothing inside. So you are checking whether blank and p value of p is blank. If it is blank, again it is an error. Now another thing is what is null and what is blank. The difference between null and difference between blank. As we understand initially, both are same. Null means nothing and blank means nothing. But in programming, both has got different meaning. Null means there is no variable like p in computer memory. So there is no memory location where there is variable p stored. That is null. Whereas blank means there is a variable in memory with the name p, but it doesn't contain any value. So let me just give you one example. When teacher comes to class for taking attendance, and when teacher speaks some student's name, if that particular student is absent in the class, that is like blank. The name is there in the class register, but the student is not present today. That is blank. Whereas null means teacher speaks out a name which is actually not there in the class. જે ક્લાસમાં ટીચર આવી એટેન્ડન્સ લે છે અને જે સ્ટુડન્ટ્સનું નામ લે છે that particular student is not on the roll or in the register of the class. That is like null. So null means it is not existing, whereas blank means it is existing but contains nothing. So this is how we have checked 5 conditions. See, 5 conditions we have checked. We checked for less than 6, we check for greater than 6, then we check for the length as less than 6, then we check whether it is not a number, then we check whether it is null, and we checked whether it is blank. Now let me explain one more thing over here. See, good programming and good programmer is the one who gives different error at different situation, error message, alert message. Right now what happens, if length is not okay, we are saying wrong pin code, enter, try again. If it is not a number, again we say wrong pin code, enter, try again. If it is blank, we say the same message. So user gets confused okay, what kind of error he or she has made. So it is advisable that you give different error messages for different situations. So what we do is we remove this from here, and here we write wrong pin code name, but we say the length of the pin code field should be exactly 6. So try again, and then we write another condition. We copy this so that we don't need to write few things again and again like this, and here we check another condition like is none. We say is none into bracket p. That means user has entered length of the characters are okay, but what he or she has entered is not pure pin code. So we say, rather than saying length, we say pin code should have only digits and rest of the things are same. And again we write third, copy paste, and what we write here is for p is equal to null or p is equal to blank, and then we again give some meaningful message that pin code should not be left blank. Okay, let us come back to the browser, refresh it. If I don't write anything and submit, it says the length of the pin code should be exactly 6. If I write something more, again it will give me the same message. If I write 6 exactly but with alphabets, it will say pin code should have only digits. As we discussed, this third condition is of actually no use because we are here already checking for length, so not used, but because it is given in textbook, so we discussed it. You know that this message is not coming itself. This message is not coming, pin code should not be left blank, because we are here checking for the length. So length, once you are checking, those things are covered here. Now if I say 123 123 exactly 6 digits and submit, form gets submitted. So this is how pin code field is getting validated. This is some simple example of validating pin code field. Next, we will see how we can validate username, password, checkbox, radio buttons, and drop-down menu. Now, we will check the entire form. We will check all the other controls, all these controls like username, first password, confirm password, checkboxes, radio buttons, comment box, and even drop-down menu. So for that, before we write the code for JavaScript for validating all these things, let us just quickly see that what names we had given to the different controls of the form. For example, form, you know that name of the form we had given is FRM, which we have already used with pin code field. But the name of the form is FRM. The username field we had given name is UN. First password we had given name is PW1. Second password we had given name is PW2. Then for the checkboxes, where we are asking user to select their hobbies, which hobbies they possess, and we had given some 4 hobbies and 4 checkboxes. So for all those checkboxes, we had given the name is hobby, hobby, and hobby. You must know that one thing, that when you are creating checkboxes in a group, that means all those checkboxes which are coming in one group should have same name. So you know that all these are hobbies: music, dance, reading, traveling. All these are hobbies. So since they are in one group, they must be given same name. Then only you can do programming on, or meaningful programming on that. So that we had given as hobby for the checkboxes of hobbies field. Then for gender, we had given name as gender. Remember, this name can be anything. You may write over here ABC, ABC, ABC. But as you understand that giving name as ABC doesn't serve the purpose of meaning. It doesn't become meaningful. So it is better that we give some meaningful name to the controls. Even for radio button, as you see, all those radio buttons which are coming in one group should have same name. So we had given 3 radio buttons for gender selection, like male, female, and others. And for all these 3 radio buttons, we had given the same name, and that is gender. So this is one thing you need to remember. Once again, let me repeat it. When you are creating multiple checkboxes, or when you are creating multiple radio buttons, then those checkboxes or radio button must have same name. If you want those radio buttons to be in one group, or those checkboxes to be in one group, then they must have the same name. Then for comment, we had created text area box, and the name of the comment box we had given is CO. Then for the city, we have created drop down menu, and the name of the selection box, that is city box, we had given name as city. One more thing to observe is this line. This is very important to observe. The first option of the drop down menu, as you know, it is blank. Just says click here. As you can see here, it is click here. So that is the first option. But when there is first option, that means user has actually not selected any of the city. So how do we know, or how does the JavaScript will know that whether user has created any option from the drop down menu or not? So for that, we had given value. Value, you can give any value. Again, you can give any value which you remember, or which you can remember for further in the programming. So we had given value is equal to -1 for the option which is blank or no option. And then we had given in some sequence. For Ahmedabad, we had given value 1, then 2, and 3, and 4, and so on. We have just restricted up to 4 options only, but as you know, you may write as many options you want to write in your drop down menu. And then finally, we have this pin code, which we have already discussed in the last lecture. The name of the pin code field is PC, and the rest we have already done in the programming of last programming, which we have seen for the validating pin code field. Form tag also you observe once. That form tag, the name of the form is FRM, method of the form is post, action is abc.html, which is not much important for us. And on submit, when user clicks on the submit button, it will execute a function validate form, where validate form f is capital, and this is what function validate form, which we already seen in the last lecture, where we are checking for the pin code field. So I hope this is what you understand. One more thing I would like to show you, which I think in chapter 1 we have not seen. Let's say what happens if I say method is equal to get. If I say method is equal to get and come here, and let's say I'm writing password which you cannot see, and we need to write pin code also, otherwise it will not submit. But now because we have written method is equal to get, observe this address bar of the browser. As I click on submit, you can see the content which we have written here in the address bar once you have written method is equal to get, and when you fill this field with some values and when you submit it, as you can see here, pw1 is equal to abcde, pw2 is equal to blank. So even though password is not visible here in the form, here it shows only star star star. Here also let me write. So both the place it is saying star star star. Let's say here I write another password, and as I click on submit button, here you can see the password that I had written password 1 as ABCD, as you can see here this, and password 2 I had written as WXYZ. So that is what method get. When you say method get, it is like this. But if you say method is equal to post, which is a secure way of communication. So when you say method is equal to post, and when you refresh the page, and if you write again the same password or any other password, but now you won't be able to see that what is the password. As you submit, nothing will be displayed here because now method is post. So remember the importance of method attribute. If method is get, it is open method. Everything will be visible on the address bar or the website's URL, and you can send limited data because it is getting attached with the address bar. Whereas post is a secure way of communication where whatever data you have filled in the form will be converted into a file. That file gets encrypted and then finally it is sent to the server. Fine. Now our next job is to check username. Using JavaScript, we will check username, whether the username, let's say we want that username should be minimum 8 characters and maximum 20 characters. So for that we will go to function validate form, and here let me introduce one more variable u for username, and there I say document dot frm dot un dot value. So now you understand what this means because we already discussed this thing while doing or while checking pin code field. Document is the main object, that is web page. FRM is the name of the form. UN is the name of the username field, and the value is what is written inside. Then we say if into bracket u dot length less than 8 or u dot length greater than 20. If any one of these things happens, we want to give an alert message to the user. So you can copy this alert message and paste it here so that we don't need to type it again. And then we just send the message and make it more meaningful, that username should be between 8 to 20 characters. Try again. And then here instead of PC we will say un dot select return false, so that form will not be submitted because username is wrong. Save this, come back to the browser, refresh it, and now if you say here username with only 5 characters. Pin code we need to write, as you know. And if I click on submit, it says username should be between 8 to 20 characters, because right now username is of 5 characters. So that's the wrong thing. Again we try another username like this, and then submit it. Form gets submitted. So this is how we check for the username field. I hope you are getting it. It's a simple thing. Only thing you need to observe is there should not be any mistake, and that is why we are copying this alert, so that we don't need to type it again, and there will be no chances of error. Next, I want to check that both the password, that is the first password and confirm password, should be same. So for checking password, whether both the passwords are same or not, again we take one variable p1. Over there it is pw1, so here we say p1 is equal to document.frm.pw1. We take another variable p2 is equal to document.frm.pw2. P2, sorry, not pw. Pw we had already taken in the form. Let us check it. We had taken pw as the name of the password field. So here we say p1 and p2, and here it would be pw1 and pw2. Again, we are creating variable p1, and in variable p1 we are storing the value of pw1, that is first password, and second password we are storing in p2. And now we put if statement. If p1 dot value not equal to p2 dot value. Again, I hope you understand this. p1 dot value not equal to sign is exclamation equal sign, because the usual not equal to sign is not available on keyboard. So we say exclamation inverted comma, and here we say p1 dot value not equal to p2 dot value. Again, what we do is we copy this error message, copy, and we paste it here, and we say some meaningful message about password. Let's say we say both the passwords should be same. Try again, and we will take control to first password again. So that is pw1 dot select, and then return false. Refresh it. Type the name here. Now you need to fill all the fields, otherwise form will keep on giving you errors. Now if I type here, I'm typing ABCD, and here I'm typing WXYZ. Both the passwords are different, though it shows on screen 4 star 4 star. As I submit, it says both the passwords should be same. Try again, and it takes us to the first password, where again I say ABCD, and here also I say ABCD. Now both the passwords are same, and as I click on submit button, form gets submitted. So we check for the username, we check for the password. Now we will check for the checkboxes and radio button. For that you need to be very careful that how the code has been written. For checkboxes, we directly start with if and document dot frm dot hobby. You know the name of the field is hobby. Now what happens? Just one. When you create 4 checkboxes, or let's say n number of checkboxes, those checkboxes are stored in the computer's memory as an array. What is an array? We will not go in detail right now, because there is an entire chapter on array. We will discuss in detail over there. But array means some same type of information is repeatedly stored in the boxes, different boxes, and each box is given a unique number. Now the only difference is the numbering starts from 0. So number of hobby box, first checkbox, music will be 0, dance will have number 1, reading will have number 2, and traveling will have number 3. And same thing happens for gender radio buttons also. The number for male radio button would be 0, for female it would be 1, and for others it would be 2. So if you have n number of checkboxes or n number of radio buttons, the number begins from 0 to n minus 1. So let's say here it is 0. That is first checkbox. Document.form.hobby of 0, that is first checkbox. Dot checked means we are checking whether there is a tick mark or not. Is equal to false means there is no tick mark on the first checkbox. We close bracket, we put and sign, double and sign, because we want to check for the second checkbox of the hobby also. So we say again document.frm.hobby of 1, that is second hobby, dot checked is equal to false. Again we check for the third. We are checking for whether user has not put any tick mark in 4 of the checkboxes. So again we say document.frm.hobby of 2 dot checked is equal to false. And last one, the fourth one, again we say document.frm.hobby of 3 dot checked is equal to false, bracket over. And we will cover the entire condition also in one more bracket. So let me start with one more bracket. So that entire 4 conditions comes in one bracket. If all the 4 checkboxes are false, means none of the checkboxes has been used by the user, then again we will give an alert message saying that you should select at least one hobby. So we copy that, we paste it here, and then we give the meaningful message saying that please select at least one hobby. And here there is no need to say try again. They will be definitely trying. There is no need to take control to any particular field, because there is nothing like focus on that. Focus will be automatically go there as you move your mouse over there. So we say return false, save this, come to this phone. Again we enter all the things here. Here one thing, another password, the same password, pin code, and if I click on submit button, it says please select at least one hobby. Click OK. If I click on music, if I click on reading, and then if I click on submit, form gets submitted. So this is how the form comes to know, a website comes to know that user has selected something or not. So if you remember, we were discussing that JavaScript is mainly used to see that what user is doing on the web page. So it can trap everything, where you are clicking, where you are double clicking, where you are right clicking. Everything can be trapped by JavaScript using different events. Same way we will check for the gender button. So for gender also we will write directly if. Now we will, right from the beginning I will put 2 brackets, because now you understand why I am opening 2 brackets. Again I say document.frm.gender of 0, that is the first radio button, dot checked is equal to false, and again another bracket, document.frm.gender of 1, that is second radio button, dot checked is equal to false, and third one, document dot frm dot gender of 2, that is third radio button, dot checked is equal to false, because there are 3 radio buttons, so it is for gender of 0, gender of 1 and gender of 2. If it is like this, again we will paste the error box, alert box, and then we write some meaningful message to the user. Please select your gender, and there is no need of this line again here also, so select this line and delete it. Save this. So as you can see here, we check for the hobby of 0, hobby of 1, hobby of 2 and hobby of 3, because there are 4 checkboxes, and here we are checking for gender of 0, gender of 1 and gender of 2, because there are 3 radio buttons, and this gender and hobby are the name which we had given while creating form. The name we had given is hobby for checkboxes, and the name we had given for gender is gender. So that is how we are using these names. Double equal, I hope you remember, because we discussed in the last lecture. Double equal, if you see here, this is equal. Everywhere we have put equal, this P1 equal to, because this is assignment statement. We are assigning RHS to LHS, so it is equal sign. But when you say double equal, means you are comparing. You are comparing the left hand side and right hand side for equality. So it is a comparison. You are comparing whether the first checkbox is tick mark is false or true. You are comparing it. If first checkbox or the radio button is ticked, then it will be true. Then true is equal to false, it will return false. But if you say false is equal to false, matlab if you have not selected the first radio button, it will be false. This will be false, and false is equal to false. You are comparing. So that is comparison, or relational operator is double equal. Fine. Save this, come to the browser, refresh it, fill the necessary field, and here also we say music, but we don't select any gender, and click on submit button. It will immediately give us a message, alert box, saying that please select your gender. So we need to click on any one of these, and let's say this. Now if I click on submit button, the form gets submitted. So as you can see, slowly we are keep on checking all the fields, so that there should not be any error in the form. Before the form data goes to server, the data must be validated. So we have already validated username field, password field, hobbies checkbox, gender radio button, and pin code field. Now only the last 2 are left, and that is for the comment box and selection box. So for comment box, as you know, we had given name as CO. So for that we will write here, we create a variable with the name COM. As you know, the writing VAR is totally optional. So if I don't write VAR, it will automatically create variable COM. So COM is equal to document.frm.co.value. The value stored in CO box. As you must remember, the name of the comment box we had given as CO. That is why I had written CO here. So that is, we are checking for the comment box here. And now we check if com is equal to null or com is equal to blank. So if it is not having any data written by user in it, we are checking for this, and then we take the alert box and paste it here, and we say please write some comment. So we say please write your comment, or don't leave the comment box empty, or whatever, like whatever meaningful message you want to say, you are supposed to write it within double inverted comma, and then we will just take the focus over there, because there is nothing written, so there is nothing to select. We are not checking how much user has written in the comment box. We are just checking whether there is something written or not. So refresh it, fill the data. Necessary data has to be filled now. Don't write anything over there and submit. Then it will say, please write your comment. Click OK. As you click OK, as you've seen, the cursor is moved here automatically. That is because of this line, document.frm.co.focus. So the focus of cursor automatically goes there when there is nothing written. So you may just write a nice website. That's it. And then click on submit button, and then form gets submitted. So this is how we check for all the controls. Now only one control is left, and that is selection of the city. Let's say how we can check the city selection. For that, again, we directly start with first we select the value. So we create a variable with the name gam. Gam is equal to document.frm.city.value. What is the value of the city field? So again, as you know that when you created drop down menu, the name of the field selection box we had given as city, and we are checking for the city field now. So here we say city value. Now we say if gam is equal to -1. If it is -1, then again that means user has not selected any city. So we will copy this and we will paste the alert box, and we say some meaningful message. Please select your city, and we will take control to the city box, city drop down. So, and there is no need of selecting anything, we just say focus. So focus goes to city box. Save it, come to the web page, refresh it. Again you need to enter all the data. Now because all the fields are validated, so we can't leave any field blank. Here also we need to write something, pin code also. And if I don't write anything for city, it says please select your city. Because how does it come to know now? Because we checked for the click here, and if you remember, the value for click here we had given is -1. That means if click here is selected, the value would be -1, and here we checked if the value is -1, that means user has not selected any city. So let us click on this, select the city, and then click on submit button. Form gets submitted. So this is what the entire form validation. Let us quickly see now. If I don't write anything in the form, and if I click on submit button, it will slowly keep on giving me all the error messages. As I submit, it says username should be between 8 to 20 characters. Try again. So we write username. Then if I click on submit button, it says please select at least one hobby. Selected one hobby. Submit again. It says please select your gender. So gender. Again submit. It says please write your comment. So comment we write. Again click on submit. It says please select your city. So we select the city. Again click on submit button. The length of the print code field should be exactly 6. Try again. We write 1, 2, 3 ABC. Click on submit. It says pin code should have only digits. Try again. So 1 2 3 1 2 3, and if I click on submit, it will get submitted. Now still there is one small mistake, and that password fields are empty. Though what we are checking is, we are not checking for the emptiness of the password. If you remember here, this code is for password. We are not checking for the emptiness of password field. We are only checking whether both the passwords are same or not. And when both are empty, both are same. So it is not giving error. But now I will not write it. You know it, how to check for the whether password is blank or not. You don't need to write for the both the password field. You just write the code for the first password box, whether it is empty or not. And that how you can write is, we have written many times here also, like this you can write, or for the comment box as we have written here, like this you can write. So you can add this particular in the form. Right now let me write ABCD1 password and AAAA is other password, and it says both the password should be same. Try again, and then this I change to AAAA. Now everything is okay. So now as per the website, how website developer has decided that what should be the data entered by the user is correct. Now only the data will go to server as you click on the submit button. So this is what the entire code, though the code looks very long and lengthy as you can see, but it is very easy to follow once you practice this. JavaScript is very interesting. You know that we already saw 2-3 other programs also, changing the color of the background of the page and many things we have seen. So this is how using JavaScript we can do form validation. I hope you understood. Let me slowly scroll the entire code so that it comes on your screen also when you view in your device. And if you want to pause and copy that code, you can easily copy. As you can see right now, you can see the code for username and password. Now here you can see the code for checkboxes, radio button, as well as comment box. You can see all the three code here. And then here you see the code for city field, that is a drop down menu, this code. As you remember, here we have not written VAR because writing VAR is totally optional in JavaScript. And then we have this pin code, which you already saw in the last lecture also. So this is what the entire JavaScript code for validating form. Now there may be a few questions in your mind, like for example, you might say, present website, they don't wait for you to click on submit. As you type the username like this and move on to next field, immediately it gives you the error that username field is not valid, or it is not as per the rule decided by the website. So there is nothing much difficult in that. What we have programmed is on submit. We have programmed everything on submit event. Instead of that, what you can do is you can program it on blur or on focus. So whenever blur event occurs here, blur event means the cursor moves from there to another field. So here is blur and here is focus. On password it is focus and the username field is blur. You can do programming on blur event so that as and when you move away from the field, it will be checked for the correctness of the data entered by the user. So that is how you can make it more meaningful. But we have done what is given in the textbook as per the textbook, because for your board exam you need to prepare accordingly as it is given in the textbook. So I hope you understood this, the entire form validation.